How's everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we are reacting to How Did Bubonic Plague Actually End by the Infographics Show. Alright, so this one is kind of an oddball. I have never reacted to this channel before, ever. I haven't even seen this channel at all. But I wanted to look for like different stuff, like just not the same thing over and over again, not the same channels over and over again. I want to like expand my reaction abilities. I want to like react to different channels and stuff like that. And I want y'all guys to help me. Give me like some comments down below and stuff like that. I already got like Discord people working on it. So if you're a part of the Discord and you already gave me like a reaction suggestion and stuff like that, don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. But I wanted to do some different stuff. Y'all guys post like a lot of Minecraft stuff, so I want to look different, just different. And this one I found on my my YouTube homepage, and I'm just like, this seems really interesting. I do really enjoy history. I really hate the class. I think I say that in almost every single history video I react to. But yeah, it just seems really interesting to me. And the bubonic plague, that was really bad. So like to see how it actually ends and stuff like yeah, this is just a YouTube video. Like it could be totally false. Like that one history video that a lot of people got mad at me. I didn't know it wasn't real. Like, I don't know. That's why I watch stuff like this, because like you don't know some of the subjects that it's talking about. So this is a really long intro. So without any further ado, here is How Did the Bubonic Plague Actually End?
The Black Death surged unstoppably throughout Eurasia for years, killing people in painful,
the voice sounds very familiar.
Within days of infection. Almost
really
no
loud.
one who caught it stood a chance. By the time it was done, about a third of the world's population was dead. So how did this deadly, widespread contagion finally end? Europe in 1347. Famines, tuberculosis, smallpox, beheadings, STDs. Old age seemed like the least common way for anyone to die at the time. Even giving birth gave you good odds of ending up in the grave. In this time of generally widespread disease and danger, no one could have imagined a plague which would undo all the other plagues thus far, and was about to make its horrific entrance. Of course, Europeans had heard of the Great Pestilence that was spreading through the Middle East and Asia. However, in a situation that thankfully would never be repeated again, they just kept going about their business, hoping the problem would fix itself before really affecting them. And yet, one day,
and they say history don't repeat itself,
the plague made its European debut. 12 ships from the Black Sea docked in the sunny Sicilian port of Messina, and people working on the docks went to greet the sailors and get the cargo. That's when they noticed something odd. Most of the sailors were dead,
all it takes,
and the few
man.
who remained alive were covered in disgusting black boils, hemorrhaging blood and pus. No one knew exactly what was going on, but getting all the ships and boil-covered sailors as far away from Messina as possible seemed like a good call. To where they didn't really care. Sicilian authorities told the death ships to leave the port. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Not only was the bubonic plague one of the most virulent contagious diseases known to man, and thus it probably already spread to some dock workers in the brief contact they had with the sailors, the
that's crazy, man.
That originally infected the sailors
like a zombie apocalypse.
Abandoned the ship, scurrying their way right into the cobblestone streets of Messina. From Messina, the plague spread through Italy up to France, Germany, and even London within the year. Even in the time of such slow, arduous travel, the Black Death tore its way through the continent with unimaginable force and speed. Between 1346 and 1353, the Black Death killed a higher proportion of the world population than any other singular event in history. It killed 25 million people in Europe in a period of 4 years, and over this climax of its spread is estimated to have destroyed 75 million lives.
Like I knew it was bad, but to actually put the numbers up there,
when the entire global population was estimated to be around 380 million. Some estimates even put the plague's total death toll higher, at around 200 million, and global population
I'm not quite sure.
Higher as well.
I don't know.
However, even the death count is horrifying to comprehend. It took 200 years for the world to rebuild its population to pre-plague levels. We assume part of the reason for the lengthy repopulating process was that seeing boil-covered humans and death all around you for years is bound to have an effect on your sex drive. But for the world population to bounce back, that meant the Black Plague had to end. So how did it? Did it just run its course, or did people start getting better at
This is why I'm watching this.
The answer is actually nuanced, as is most scientific and medical issues. Despite what your self-diagnosis with WebMD certified, many experts have an explanation they favor most, but they also agree that the Black Plague ended as a result of a combination of factors. First of all, the extreme deadliness of the Black Plague proved to be a part of its eventual undoing. The disease killed so many people so quickly that at some point it ran out of victims. When the bubonic plague struck a person, they quickly fell grievously ill. Symptoms included fevers of 100 to 106 degrees Fahrenheit, nausea, vomiting, severe joint pain, and headaches. The most unique symptoms of the plague were buboes that gave it its name, large egg-shaped boils that oozed pus and blood. Charming. People who usually fell ill became confined to their homes and died within 3 to 8 days. Over 80% of all those infected died. Thus, the odds once you caught the disease were not great. This is why highly deadly pathogens have a way of wiping themselves out. A disease that kills so many so fast eventually reduces its own chance of spreading and therefore surviving. At some point, there were literally just not
that's technically good, but
not that dense a population to work through. Eventually, when people wised up to the fact that staying away from the sick helped them survive.
Everybody's already dead.
The second reason the plague ended was because people started trying to prevent its transmission. Doctors initially had no good advice to give the population. This was a previously unknown disease, and also most doctors at the time thought that leeches helped depression. Unless Gwyneth Paltrow is your medical professional, we generally expect better medical advice and treatment these days. For an example of
demons. Here's some cocaine.
About the disease during that era, one plague doctor stated his belief that instantaneous death occurs when the aerial spirit escaping from the eyes of the sick man strikes the healthy person standing near and looking at the sick. He wasn't exactly wrong about the ease of transmission and the fact that the
way he worded it was a bit wrong.
Spread via the air, but his reasoning as to how and why was suspect.
Mine was in the right
place.
place.
The horrific state of medicine at the time, people eventually realized that the more they came into contact with others, the more likely they would be to catch this deadly new disease. So people started escaping the big dense cities of Europe and going to the countryside. However, the plague carried by fleas on rats and livestock followed them out there as well. So more stringent measures were taken. Store owners closed up shops and stayed home. Priests wouldn't administer last rites. Doctors refused to see patients. And given our previous statements, this was probably for the best. And cremation became extremely popular in order to both minimize the existence of plague-carrying bodies and also save space as corpses quickly filled up mass graves. Tragically, people were even forced to leave their sick and suffering family members behind to have a shot at escaping the plague. Thomas Mokaitis, a history professor at DePaul University, explains that people had no real understanding of how to fight it other than trying to avoid sick people. That's why in Italy, where the disease had first infected Europe, they decided to start a new practice. In the Venetian-controlled port city of Ragusa, incoming sailors were kept on their ships in isolation for 30 days. Eventually, the isolation period increased to 40 days, which in Italian was called quarantino. This led to the origin of our current word that we've become way too depressingly familiar with, quarantine. I'm learning! As incoming cases of bubonic plague were greatly reduced.
Wi-Fi on this ship
quarantine procedures, however, what was to be done about the fleas and rats transmitting the disease? These two animals still carried the bacteria, known as Yersinia pestis, that spread the plague. Well, most European cities decided that greatly improving their sanitation procedures would help in this regard, as it does in most regards, actually. It turns out that the cleaner a place is, the less fleas and rats tend to congregate.
Really?
As most students discover after freshman year in their college dorms. People also strive to improve their personal hygiene, which helps keep even more fleas at bay. Again, we're unsure why this wasn't a thing before, but apparently people learning to wash their hair more than once a month was the tiniest of silver linings to their horrific
Didn't they think the good germs would leave or something?
So the deadliness of the plague itself, combined with quarantine procedures and better sanitation, helped curb the spread of the Black Death.
Hell yeah.
What was the final factor that helped put a stop to it?
The nail in the coffin.
In 2010, researchers collected DNA from mass graves of Black Plague victims and found that the DNA of the bacteria was vastly different from the current form of the plague. It was a far deadlier strain of the disease. As we said before, highly fatal pathogens must eventually find a way to be less deadly in order to keep their own reproduction going. So the evolution of bacterial DNA helped lessen the deadliness of the bacteria. But that's not the only way DNA transformation helped stop the plague. It turns out human DNA mutations also helped it lose momentum. Apparently, a certain DNA mutation that has been shown to help protect against HIV in humans today first appeared in a widespread way in the population in the 1300s. The most likely reason? A widespread fatal epidemic. The disease didn't cause the mutation. It simply disproportionately affected those without it, leading more of those with the mutation to pass down their genes.
Okay, I went the complete wrong path there.
In its tracks. Unfortunately, people at the time also tried to end the Black Death in several ill-advised and horrifying ways. Many believed the plague was in fact God punishing the population for their sins.
You always got a couple
they would
people.
have to demonstrate repentance
and
devotion to God.
I mean, that's not bad,
but the curse. For some reason, some believed the best way to do this was to hunt down and kill anyone they deemed sinful or heretic. When these people asked themselves, what would Jesus do? Their answer apparently was massacre large groups of people, especially Jewish populations.
My favorite verse in the Bible.
That they clearly missed
Jesus goes going on a rampage.
Their religion. Other less terrifying but equally ineffective remedies involved
joke, by the way.
doctors telling plague patients to bathe in rose water or vinegar to help cleanse the disease out. This worked about as well as anyone would expect, which is to say, not
Here's some essential oils.
Rose water does little to stop bacteria with an 80%
Don't forget your crystals.
Though the Black Death peaked in the years of 1346 and 1353, it by no means went away after that. Smaller outbreaks would resurge for hundreds of years, with the last notable one being the Great Plague of London in 1665. Some believe the Great Fire of London in 1666 helped put a stop to the disease's spread, as it burned many of the rats carrying it. But most historians and medical experts
literally burned everything.
However, this last big iteration of the disease did inspire the well-known children's nursery rhyme, Ring a Ring of Roses. Londoners thought holding a posy of flowers up to their nose would help protect them from
English
the
messed
plague.
everything
This
up.
explains the lyric "Pocket full of posies." A tissue, we all fall down.
Ashes,
refers to
ashes,
people
we all
falling
fall
ill and needing tissues and then dropping dead. The original lyrics, in fact, were "We all fall down."
I knew
dead.
about this.
In case you needed further proof that the original versions of children's stories and rhymes were all deranged. Today, the bacteria that caused the Black Death still exists, but it's now treatable with antibiotics. About 7 cases of bubonic plague are reported in the U.S. every year.
Really?
1,000 to 3,000 worldwide, mostly on the African continent, meaning you have a higher chance of dying by a lightning strike than the plague these days. And now that we know how the Black Death ended and never have to worry about a pandemic tearing through the world again, why not click on this funny video or this
literally just came out. Wait, we're currently going through. No ad, go away. All right, so that video was relatively new. I don't know why he said we don't have to worry about that. We're currently going through that. I mean, granted, not nearly as bad as the Black Death, but yeah, we're still going through quarantine. I'm not even gonna try to say the Italian word for it, but like, that video was really, really cool. It was really insightful, and like, I got excited in a couple of parts because I actually learned something. Like the quarantine thing, I did not know that, and that's really, really cool. Like, I'm a sucker for stuff like that. Like, you don't know stuff, so you seek out and get the knowledge. Granted, like I said at the very beginning of this video, this is a YouTube video, so take it with a grain of salt, I guess, the expression. But like, actually do more research. Don't just see a YouTube video and be like, I know everything now, I'm an expert. Like, no, seriously, please do not do that. There's plenty of people out there that are already like that. But like, it's just really cool. Like, I love, like I said with a lot of in a nutshell videos, like, if you were to put a topic that people don't really understand, you put it into bite-sized pieces with like animation on top of it and have a really good narrator, like, a lot of people soak it up a lot easier that way, and I really, really like that, instead of just like, okay class, open your book to page 290. Like, that's stupid. I hate that. Like, schools are stupid. But that's a whole tangent for another time. This video was really, really enjoyable. I loved it so much, and it's just, I'm probably gonna go back to them because I really, really enjoyed it. Like, just this one video, but still, I really, really enjoyed this. The first introduction is always the most important one. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go back to this guy. He's really, really cool. And yeah, I hope I don't mess up the name. So I'm really good at that. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below because it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more awesome videos like this one. So with that said, I have been Master Zero. Y'all guys have been fantastic, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later days.